All right. Hey, everybody. It's Taylor with SQL Prep. Hopefully, you guys can connect here and hear me as well. Looks like the sound should be working here. Joins us here. Let's see. All right. Looks like we got 6 viewers. Hey, once again, I'm Taylor with SQL Prep. Tom Fowles, the other guy here at SQL Prep, should be joining us here in a second. So we'll wait for him to hop in. While we're waiting, though, everybody want to go ahead and comment where you're from? See some of those comments roll in here. So go ahead and enter in where you're from. So we're just revving up to get started here. Where you at, Tom? Okay, still not seeing Tom yet. But yeah, go ahead, enter your comments there in the chat where you're from, and also enter in if you've ever done any SQL before, or if you're just starting out fresh, if you work in SQL already, or if you're looking to make the shift and get a job. Okay, Tom's asking me to add him one more time. So let me go ahead and do that. Yeah, sorry for the little delay here too. No joke. My internet went down the moment 6 struck. Go figure, right? I don't know if any of you have CenturyLink where you are at, but if so, I can feel your pain. See if Tom hopped in here or not. Sorry for the technical difficulties here. It should just be another minute or so. Let's see what Tom has to say now. Okay, let me invite him one last time. All right, I went ahead and invited him on over. Okay, so as we're waiting for Tom to join up with us here, we're going to be talking about business intelligence today. And I don't know if any of you have worked in the business intelligence field, but it's a branch of a SQL that you can go into. It delves into more of the bigger data type of stuff. All right, looks like Tom is there. Can we hear you speak, Tom? I'm not hearing you. I don't know if anybody else is hearing you, but I at least cannot hear you. Okay, well, Tom's working on that here. So yeah, business intelligence, sort of delving into the bigger data side of things with SQL. I actually work as a database engineer, which we do a little bit of BI type of stuff. Tom is more of our expert in the BI field. He's been working as a business intelligence developer now for some time, and so he's going to be presenting most of the information here for today about how business intelligence works. And specifically, we're going to be talking about business intelligence interviews and the type of questions that you might run into, specifically SQL related questions. And so we'll work through some of those problems so you can get an idea where you are at in the whole process and how you can better prepare moving forward. Any luck there, Tom? Still not hearing you. Second. Still not hearing Tom at all. Okay. No, still not hearing Tom. Okay, well, Tom will continue trying to figure that out. I'll go ahead and roll forward here with what we're going to talk about. So with business intelligence, we're dealing with data warehouses. And so it's sort of a different way to think about SQL than you might commonly do, especially if you've just done some basic queries, and sort of a different way to structure the database as a whole. Business intelligence is often used in larger corporations as they're trying to go ahead and analyze their data sets to figure out the type of business decisions that they need to make company. And so, and they can be really lucrative, as I've mentioned in the email and in that blog post that Tom wrote up. Seeing salaries in the 100K range is not rare at all. And so it's a great chance to go ahead and level up your skills. And so we'll go into some of the examples of interview questions here that you might see. Tom, I think I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Is it clear? Does it sound good? How's my voice?
Sounds pretty good to me.
Great. We'll roll
All
with
right.
it then. I don't know what I did, but it's working now.
All right, technology for you. Yeah, sorry everybody about that delay here. So now with my somewhat rambling introduction here about business intelligence, let's actually go to the guy who works with it every day in full depth here. So Tom, can you give us just a little brief few-minute introduction to what business intelligence is, what it is you do on a day-to-day, and how everybody else can get in on the action?
All right. Well, we talked about this a little bit last time, but simply put, business intelligence is just about helping businesses make data-driven decisions. And so if a business is looking to increase their sales, they're probably going to want to identify what's working and what's not working and what they can improve upon. And they've got a bunch of data that, isn't very nice for lots of business users. So as a business intelligence developer, we dig in deep, look at what their process is, and really try and figure out how they can analytically find ways to improve those processes. And so day to day, I'm talking with lots of business users and trying to help them figure out what ways they can analyze their data best, so that way they can turn around and make decisions that are going to improve their business ultimately. The last part of your question about getting into the business, lots of ways to do it. The way I've seen most people get in is really just by starting out as like a data analyst or a database engineer, or maybe even interning as a BI developer for a bigger company. And then once you get some experience under your belt, it's pretty easy to stay in the industry. There's so much demand right now. So yeah, hope that answers your question, Taylor.
That answered it very well, Tom. Thank you. Appreciate that. And so if any of the rest of you have questions about business intelligence and how to get into the field, go ahead and put your questions there in the chat, and we might get to a few of them here toward the end of our chat. And we'll continue to answer those moving forward. For the rest of what we want to talk about today, though, we actually want to dive into 5 sample questions that you might run into intelligence interview. And a lot of them are going to be pretty similar to the type of questions you would run into in any type of interview for a position that would use SQL, as a data analyst, business analyst, database engineer, database developer, all that kind of stuff. Although there are a few specific ones towards the end of what we're going to talk about today that you especially are going to want to be familiar with if you want to go and make the jump into business intelligence. That said, Tom is going to lead us through a lot of this here of our 5 questions. So, Tom, looks like you've got your screen shared. So go ahead and take it away.
All right. Do you have that popped up right now? Okay,
Yep, I'm
perfect.
seeing it.
That should be shown to everybody now. Great. So let's jump in here. Like I've talked about, BI has so many pieces to it, talking with customers, modeling data, moving data, reporting on data. But you know what? In a lot of BI interviews, SQL is going to be a big part of everything. It's a big part because SQL is fundamental and it's essential for business intelligence developers. So you're going to get a lot of questions about SQL regardless of what position you're applying for. It's just going to happen. So what we wanted to do was give you 5 common questions. These are questions that I've heard on multiple interviews. They're pretty basic. I want you to focus on not rambling, just spending 30 seconds or less, uh, either talking out loud or writing in the comments what you would say if you were asked that question in an interview. I want you to remember that principles are the most important thing usually for people. They don't always care that you're 100% right. They just care that you have a good concept of the principles behind the question. And yeah, just say it out loud or write in the comments. So let's jump right on in. So the first question, I've got a little timer down here. Give you 30 seconds. What are the main clauses of a SQL select statement? So again, you can just say this out loud or type in the comments if you like. And I did find some timers with Jeopardy music, but thought I'd spare you all and just let it be silent so you can get through the questions best. All right, that's 30 seconds though. Hopefully you did okay on that. Taylor, do you want to walk us through the main clauses of a SQL select statement?
Yeah, sure thing. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you've got your select clause, you've got your from clause, you got your where clause, you've got your group by, your having, and then also your order by clause. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main clauses. Your select clause is going to designate what columns you're going to choose. From clause is going to show which tables you're going to pull from. Where clause is going to be filtering that information. And also the having clause is going to be filtering that information. I won't get into how those are different because that might give away something that we'll get into in a second. And then you've got your group by clause, which is a way that you can go ahead and group your result sets and then find out information per each group. And then lastly, you've got your order by clause, which is just ordering your results according to however you designate.
Yeah.
How'd I do, Tom?
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I think you took a little bit more than 30
All
seconds
right, good.
there, but I liked it. It was nice and clear and simple. Shows that you really understand what the main clauses are, no doubt about it. All right, let's go on to the next question. When would you use a left join? Very common question here. So again, just say it in your head, say it out loud, or write it down in the chat if you'd like. Ooh, just 10 seconds left. Oh, looks like we got clicking ahead somehow. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, I'll just pause that. I think that's 30 seconds there for you. So when would we use a left join? We would use a left join when information in table A is necessary for the result set, but the information in table B may not, a relationship may or may not exist there for what's in table A. And basically meaning that we need to see every record in table A, and even if there's not a matching record in table B. And so that's going to give us more information than if we were to use a normal join, also called an inner join. So there you go. Pretty basic. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Just need to understand that a left join, also known as an outer join, uh, does not require a match to return data from your first table. All right, let's go on to the next one. What is the difference between the where clause and the having clause? This is what Taylor was saying. Didn't want to give this one away. Wanted to keep some fun for you guys. So go ahead and answer this one. See if you can do it in about 30 seconds. All right. So the where clause and the having clause. This is very similar to what Taylor was talking about here not too long ago. The where clause is going to filter out rows from your main data set. Meaning when we use the from clause, we select it from a table. We also join any additional tables that we require for our query. And then the where clause is able to remove rows or filter rows from that result set. But if we're going to have group sets, we want to do aggregation of some kind. The having clause is going to allow us to filter on those aggregates, basically filter out uh, the determined group sets that we used in the group by clause. So two totally different cases, both doing something fairly similar though. Great, I hope you guys were able to answer that fairly simply. All right, let's do another one. What are aggregate functions? Describe what each function does. And Taylor, I'll let you take this one. So you may want to be thinking about this here in these 30
Gotcha.
seconds. Yeah.
All right, everybody. So time is up here. So hopefully you're able to think of what the different aggregate functions are. It might help even to come up with some acronym in your mind so that you can repeat them. So there's 5 main ones that we deal with regularly. So you're going to be looking at average, sum, count, min, and max. Average takes average of all the values that you're looking at. Sum adds them all together. Count a rows you're dealing with. Min will give you the minimum value. Max will give you the max value. If you're dealing with dates, min will go furthest back. Max will go most recent.
All
There we
right.
go.
That's perfect. That's a great answer. You got all 5 of the main aggregate functions there. So that's perfect. So let's hit our last
Thanks.
one here. The last question. What is a subquery? What kinds of subqueries are there? So again, 30 seconds here. All right. So time's up on that. Hopefully you're able to get that one in 30 seconds. This one might be a little bit longer to describe, but basically a subquery is a query within a query. Sometimes within our data set, we need to compare data that may not be have specific relationships to our current query, and so that's where a subquery can be useful. Sometimes the query though will be related. That's called a correlated subquery. So you can have correlated, you can have uncorrelated, you can have derived tables, you can have common table expressions, lots of different subqueries out there that really help us to organize the data, uh, build basically data sets on the fly and establish relationships. And that's going to really help our queries become more performant and also more readable. So subqueries are very powerful, very deep, lots of information to read up on. Uh, if you're not familiar with subqueries, definitely highly, strongly suggest that you do some reading on that. All right, so how'd you do? You can throw it up in the chat if you think you got a 5 out of 5. Let us know if you think there's some principles that you need work on. You can also just put that in the chat and let us know what places you think you need more help with.
Yeah, or if you are too embarrassed to admit you're not doing well, then you can also put a 5 out of 5. But internally, that should drive you to doing even better with your SQL study.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. You can always put the 5 out of 5 if you're struggling with identity and confidence and stuff in your SQL. So it is hard. Honestly though, that is one thing though I see a lot of people struggle with SQL. We see so many people are so good with SQL, but they struggle to feel like they're confident. They struggle to feel like they're ready for that SQL interview, and they don't
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
like
because Tom,
they
don't
found
you?
that data.
He conducts a lot of the interviews at the place that he works at right now. And yeah, from everything you told me, it's not, I mean, to some of you, those questions might seem like ridiculously easy, but that trips up a lot of the people that come in to interview there, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It varies person to person, but there's a lot of people that we interview that are entry level,
Uh-huh.
and they get to some of these questions, and some they answer okay, and others they just have no idea what to say. And so, if you're able to answer these very clearly and articulate your thoughts really well, then you may be well on your way to being ready for an interview, get that job you're looking for.
Right. Yeah, and another thing with that too is if you didn't know the answers to those, as you can tell, it's not something that takes too long to learn. Confident with it, then you're definitely going to want to be confident with not only that, but also this next thing that we're going to go over, which is where it starts to get a little meatier as far as the actual sequel goes.
Yeah, exactly. I love deeper data problems, but bigger than just the principle. So let's get into a challenge here. If you've been to our site, SQL Prep, and you're very familiar with these daily challenges, I put one together here to show you different ways you can use subqueries and a couple of advanced techniques to really take your SQL skills to the next level. So I've got a schema here. This one's pretty common here, a retailer database. The question here is we need
I'm
to,
not seeing it, Tom.
oh, you're not?
I'm just seeing a black screen.
Black
Ah, there
screen?
we go.
Oh.
I don't know. It popped up there, and now I'm seeing your face again.
Oh, well, we don't
There
want
we
to
go.
see that. Let's see. Is that good? You can see it
Beautiful.
now? Oh, I think that my screen just stopped sharing again.
Oh, okay.
We struggle sometimes with technical stuff for some reason for being technical guys, don't we, Taylor? It's good times, huh?
Yeah, it's because Tom doesn't like Apple but has a iPhone. The yes, the irony there is striking back at us, I guess.
I don't know if you know this, Taylor, but I actually upgraded from the iPhone to the Pixel, so back
Oh,
on
did
Android.
you?
I'm back on Android,
Okay, so
yes.
there must be an Apple lover that's hacking us right now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly.
And we'll blame it on that. Yeah.
So, yeah, for this challenge here, you've got this schema here. We want to find the most recent order of each customer. So this isn't the overall most recent order, it's customer by customer. We need to show the customer number, the customer name, the order number, the order date, and the status of the order. All right, so if a customer has made 3 orders, we only want to see the most recent order for that customer. So, so Taylor, if you're just looking at this and you've haven't learned anything too advanced with SQL, how do you think you would go about solving it?
Hold up here just a second. Looks like we're getting a couple comments. A couple of people are
Oh,
saying the scheme is sort of blurry and that
oh,
they can't read it. It's clear on my end though. I can read it, at least with my glasses. But no, it is clear on my end. Is it still okay? Frank says it's blurry. Suhata says it's blurry. Interesting.
let me get you a link really quick here.
Okay, yeah, Tom is going to get you the link here to the schema. If you've done any of our daily challenges or challenges in our courses before, then this schema probably will look familiar to you. It's actually the retailer database. I'd say probably at least 50% of the queries that we have on our site are through this database right here. So while Tom's trying to get that link to you all, I'll just describe it briefly. So you have your customers table, and this is just for a retail business in general, okay? So you're gonna have customers, of course, and you're gonna have orders that they make and all of the associated information with that. You're gonna have payments that the customers make for those items. You're gonna have employees that are selling to the customers. And then we also have an offices table that has office information for those employees. Okay. And is that coming together for you there, Tom? Were you able to find the link?
Yep, yeah, I just posted that in the group chat.
Ah,
Let us
okay.
know if
There
you're
we go.
able to see that or not. Hopefully that works
Should
out
be
for
able
everybody.
to. I see the link there.
Looks like
Frank, good
Frank.
save, guys. Thank you for the moral support, or the encouragement there, Frank. All
Yeah, thank you,
right, great.
Frank. Glad that it's working
So find
out,
the
but
most recent order
go
of
ahead.
each customer. That's what you wanted me to look at here, Tom?
Yeah, yeah. So why don't you describe what we need to do here?
Sure, yeah. So if we want to find the most recent order for each customer and then display that information about them, one good way to do this is go ahead and divide the problem up into a couple parts. So first, let's just find the most recent order for each customer. Then we'll worry about all the other stuff later. To do that, we're going to find the most recent order. Then we're going to, if you see most or recent, those types of words, that's going to be a good trigger for you that you're going to need an aggregate function. So in this case, we're going to, and if we say most recent order, then we're talking date. So we want to find the max order date. If you look there in the orders table there on the right, step out in the middle, then we want to find the max order date. And so we could just even do that generally and see what the most recent order is, regardless of the customer. So you just do something like select max order date from orders, and that would give you that. And then if you want to go a layer deeper and you want to see it per each customer, and that should be a hint right there too. That word each should be a hint that you're going to need to do some type of grouping. So then we would go ahead and group by the customer. And in this case, we have a customer number column there in our orders table already. So we can go ahead and group by that customer number with the same information outside of that. And then we'll get a row back for each customer and with their most recent order date. Okay, so once we have that information, then we can go ahead and find our customer number, name, order number, order date, and status information. And there's a few different ways that we can go about that. Do you want me to get into that, Tom, or do we want to show a little bit more?
Yeah, why don't we move on here? Get to this next slide here.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let me explain this. This is what I was just detailing. So as it says, this is method number 1, and we're aggregating using inline derived table. So derived table is another name for, oh, Tom, you pulling it up again? Okay, there we go. So derived table is another name for a subquery, specifically a subquery that's inside of the from clause. So if you see there, everything that's starting there on the far left, that's the outer query. And then we've got our inner query indented in the middle there in our from clause. Okay, so we're selecting o.customer number and the max order date from orders, and we're grouping by customer. That's just what I said before. And that alone, if we ran it, would give us the customer number and then the most recent order date for each customer. Then we can go ahead and use that information in our outer query here to go ahead and grab the other general information about these customers. And so we'll go ahead and we'll join that to orders and then a recent order here. Or what is it? Customer recent order dot most recent order. And that customer recent order is the name that we gave to our derived table there. So we join that together dates, have the general customer information as well, as we see there in that upper select. Still there, Thomas?
Yeah, sorry. I think your internet's having a bit of issues, getting a little choppy there, but I was able to hear most of what you said.
Okay, gotcha.
But
Sorry
yeah, so
about that. There.
just like Taylor said, this area right here is our derived table where we're going to build out our data set within the query itself. It's a subquery. That's one approach we can use, aggregating using the inline derived table. Another common way to solve this would be to use CTEs. And it's basically exactly the same thing. The only difference though is that we take this uh, inline derived table that you see right here in the from clause, and we use a common table expression, or a CTE, and we put it at the very beginning. And then we're able to write our query, and it's actually exactly the same as what we did in part one, but this way it's just organized a little bit differently. One reason why CTEs are so highly favored is because it's very easy to look inside the data. Sometimes with derived tables that are inline, it's hard to select that query and see the data and do your debugging. But with CTEs like this, it's very easy to do debugging. I love them for that reason. Um, so this is a bit more advanced right here. I know from our SQL challenges, daily challenges, I see a lot of you guys using these. So that's a big step up. We interview a lot of people. We ask that question if they're familiar with CTEs because we use them all the time in BI development. But a lot of people haven't used them before. So if you've used them, that's a plus one for you for sure. One last way to solve this that's very common, very popular within BI development is to use window functions. And so this is going to be a little different if any of you aren't familiar with these. Basically, though, what we're able to do is instead of grouping to find the most recent order, we're able to assign a rank or a row number here to each order in that orders table. And then we're able to partition, which is kind of like a grouping, but we're able to partition it by a customer number and then order it by the date. And so basically what we're going to do is if a customer had 3 orders, we're going to assign a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3 to each of those orders uh, by the date. And so that's nice then because we're able to order by the date descending and then just uh, grab the row where the order rank is 1, and then that's going to be the most recent order. And so this is very popular. It's very good for understanding data problems, holes in data if your data is not complete, because you're able to go through and figure out, okay, so how many customer orders do we have, and how do the dates line up, and especially if you're looking at timelines, if order A has to come before order B, we can use these window functions to determine which came first, which came second, and then now we're able to do joins and build relationships and determine if there are any problems with our data. So very popular within BI because that's a big part of it is just discovering if the transactional database data is good or not. So Taylor, did you have something you wanted to say?
I no, I don't really have much to
Sorry,
comment
you
on
were
that, but this is really
distracted.
great,
Absolutely.
and this is only one way that you can the people interviewing you for sure because they're going to be wanting to see this end. As we'll see here in a second, there's definitely some problems that you're going to run into where it's going to be much harder to solve it if you're not using these window functions. And another thing,
hmm
you might these window functions often are called analytic or analytical functions as well, and that becomes very prevalent in business intelligence.
Perfect. Yep. Everything Taylor said is right.
All right.
So let's do a second problem. We're not really going to go through it right now, but let's suppose that we had to find the second most recent order for each customer and show the exact same information. So if you're thinking about that, how can we solve this? Grab the second most recent order. Um, If I was you, thinking which method would I rather use, you have that derived table, you've got the common table expression, or you've got the window function. Um, using either the derived table or how we use the common table expression in those first two examples would actually be pretty difficult. But using the window function would be extremely simple. We just have to change a number one to a number two and we'd be done. And so, that's something nice to have in your tool belt, just a breadth of SQL tools because, in some cases, uh, it's easier to do things one way than it is another way. So the more you know and the more foundation you have, really the easier these SQL problems will become for you. So my last tips here for SQL interviews for BI. Just remember that SQL is fundamental. If you're going to get into BI, you have to know SQL really well. You're going to be using it every day. It's an essential skill. So, just buckle down and do what it takes to become confident in SQL. It really helps to have a deep understanding of SQL, not just in the interview, but, day to day on the job. It's very useful to understand how data works, and it helps you get your job done a lot better and a lot faster. So Taylor, you want to walk us through some of these next steps?
Yeah, sure thing. So thanks, Tom, for giving us that introduction to some of the types of questions that run in school in a business intelligence interview. And honestly, all of those questions are fair game for pretty much any type of SQL position that you might run into. And so, yeah, was that SQL hard for you? If the answer is yes, then definitely you're going to want to brush up and get some review in to improve your SQL skills, because I've seen it in interviews I've been in, and I know Tom has mentioned it too, but there's so many people that come in and they say, yeah, I'm pretty decent at SQL. And then they get in and some of those easier questions that we went over tonight, maybe, it's just stage fright or whatever, but they just can't answer them. And as an interviewer, uh, honestly, I immediately write somebody off if they can't answer those questions. And they said they had some knowledge of it, because then it shows me that they have poor judgment as to their actual ability level. So that begs the question: how do you get good at SQL? And Tom, go ahead and butt in if I'm cutting out at all during this. But how do I get good at SQL? So we've got those daily challenges on our site, and then you've probably heard this before, but we've got our ultimate SQL querying package. And as it says here, I firmly believe it is the only course you need to get your SQL skills to where you can get a job. Now, why do I believe that? Well, Tom and I went ahead and made this course with that exact thing in mind, because we didn't have this course back when we were starting in SQL, whatever it was, I guess a long time ago now, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And we just did what I think pretty much everyone else does. You do a little of Google Foo and watching some YouTube tutorials, which can be really good, or they can be really crappy. We went to various sites, tried a few SQL problems here or there, but honestly, we just really didn't find a resource that aggregated everything well enough together. And there's a few main factors that really we found made the difference once we actually figured it out. And it took years for us, but we realized looking back that, man, I could have taken just like a month or two, honestly, if I just had the right stuff. So one of the big things is practice, just enough practice. And hopefully you've been enjoying our daily challenges that we've been putting out on the website, because just as with anything, you just need practice in order to get good. That's one thing that we have a heavy dose of in our Ultimate SQL Querying package. Currently, we have over 100 challenges taking you all the way from the beginning of what you would need in SQL, from your basic selects and from clause, all the way up through till your very complex joins and your very complex subqueries and derived tables that you would be wanting to use. And so all those types of things, like I would just, it was just in spurts, right? If you think back, probably a lot of you, especially if you're here in the US, when you were growing up, you tried to learn how to play the piano, right? Or you were voluntold, you were forced to learn how to play the piano by your parents. And you just have the thing going on where you would constantly be trying to learn how to do a new piece, but then you wouldn't practice and you come back for your lesson and you'd stink it up and you'd be like, why do I even try doing this? And you just never get anywhere because you didn't have that diligent practice. In our ultimate SQL querying package. Tom here is showing a slide. I think Amy's actually here on the webinar, so don't be shy, Amy. But we want to celebrate your achievements. Amy actually works over at TripAdvisor, and she mentioned that we could bring her up for things like this here. But we trained her one-on-one using the training that we have gone ahead and made into the ultimate SQL querying package. And with that training, she was able to move from being an accountant there at TripAdvisor to being, she described it as like an accounting analyst, sort of like a data analyst. Honestly, it was sort of a new role at the company where she went from, of course, as an accountant to actually pulling queries, generating reports, and then doing analysis based off of that. And she credited that largely to the SQL training that we had helped provide. And so we went ahead and gathered the best of what we had from that training, those one-on-one sessions, and when we put it into our ultimate SQL querying package. So enough of talking here. Let me go ahead and share my screen to show you a little bit looks like. So I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So Tom, let me know if you can't see this, or anybody else. Also let me know if you can't see this. But here is a sneak peek into our ultimate SQL querying package. And there you can see me right there. So this is a look at the course. I want to show you what it looks like. So it's got many different videos. Of course, this is just an introduction video. But here's the first real module going into my query. We'll go ahead and move forward through that. And we have these things that take you step by step through all you need to know. This is just explaining the query editor familiar with. And then we'll come on over here. And then you have challenges embedded throughout the course, like this one here. And this is a similar format to our daily challenges as well. You can see the schema. You can see previous queries that have been run, which can help you see sort of your train of thought through everything. And then you can go ahead and type in your queries here to see the results. You got your hint, your correct results, and your answer as well. All those different things to help you through these different queries. Okay, and then let's look at another example here with selecting multiple columns. And it's pulling up here. Because the beginning of each section will usually start with either some text introduction, or also we have videos throughout each of these modules where I go ahead and explain the process of the next principle that we're learning. So that's the format. You've got your explanation, your teaching, and then you've got your actual challenges to work through. Okay, and then if you scroll on down here along the left-hand side, you can see all the different modules that we have, working through your where clause, your aggregate functions, your different types of group bys with aggregate functions, your basic join information, primary keys, foreign keys, and then working through some of your left joins, right joins, outer joins, and then all of this subquery information. And actually, I want to point this out too, especially with subqueries. The information I've seen online is really not very well organized at all. They'll give you the basic info of a subquery is a query within another query, which it is. But if you've ever tried working with subqueries, you might quickly run into seeing that you might be able to get one, but then you have another one, and you know you need to use a subquery, but you don't know how to structure it. Because there's a lot of different ways to structure it. And it really just depends on the type of information you're trying to grab, dependent on the structure of the database that you're working with. And so we've gone ahead and we've dissected the whole thing into these various different modules that you can go ahead and work through. Okay, so that is a little introduction here to our course. And let me go back to stop sharing my screen so I can be back on me now. So as a wrap up to today here, we want to go ahead and offer you the ultimate SQL querying package. And we offer it all the time. It's currently accessible no matter what, but we want to offer it to you on a special promotion here. And in addition to the Ultimate SQL querying package, as you've seen through what we've gone through today, you need to know analytic functions, those window functions, in order to do well, especially if you want to get into business intelligence. And so as a bonus, we want to also offer access to the new analytic functions module that we're going to have coming out here. And so that'll be coming out here within the next 2 to 4 weeks. And so we'll just be adding that in there to the tail end of the course so that you can access that as well, which really will give you all you need to know, including all the practice that you need to have in order to really ace any SQL portion of these various SQL interviews that you're going to be running into. Okay, so from now until 24 hours from now, actually, I guess 24 hours from when the webinar started, so that would be Eastern Standard Time on the 4th, which is Thursday, tomorrow. If you go ahead and purchase our Ultimate SQL Querying Package, then we'll give it to you for a discounted special rate of $50, just a one-time fee. And then we'll also throw in this new module that will be coming out here soon on analytic functions. All right, and that's structured very similar to the rest of the course there that you're able to see. If you are interested, then go ahead and there is a buy now button, I think above the video here that you're watching. So if you look up, there should be a red circular button right there that says buy now. You can go ahead and click on that. It'll add the package directly to your cart, and then go ahead and run through the checkout. It should just take a couple minutes. And if you're not logged in, then you'll need to log in or create a user as well. So I go ahead to check that out. If you don't have the course already, if you do already have the course, go ahead and message us, and we can get you a good discounted rate for the analytic functions separately as well. I really mean this when I say that this is the only SQL course that you need to get started and actually get a SQL job. And I know that from experience. I look back now, and the process took me like 3 years to really figure things out well. And I look back at it, and I'm like, wow, if I had had something like the Ultimate SQL Querying Package month, like I studied really hard in college. I know how to go ahead and study for finals and just cram big time. And in a month, if I just had the right layout of step-by-step process with the right teaching, and the right amount of practice, then that totally could have happened. I don't want you all to take the 3-year route. I'd much prefer you all take the 1-month route. So I encourage you to go ahead and move forward with that. Let us know if you have any questions. And one other huge thing with the Ultimate SQL Querying package is that we provide unlimited email support to you for 6 months within anything that fits within the scope of the course. Hey, Tom, I think you're still screen sharing too. So anything that fits within the scope of the course. So even if it's for a job or even for an interview, if it still has anything to do with your selects, froms, wheres, your aggregates, and analytic functions, all that kind of stuff, send it our way, and we'll be glad to help you out. We've been helping out a few other people with their interviews as well. I'm not answering the questions for them, but just they will come to us with like the type of questions they were asked afterwards, and then we'll go ahead and give them some help to get them to that next level in case they got tripped up at all. And so we'd love to do that with you as well. Okay, so that's about it. Tom, you have anything else to add in?
No, I love everything that Taylor's been saying. Honestly, it took me a long time to go to all these websites and figure out, all the different principles, read lots of different books, and it just takes a long time and a lot of practice. So just like Taylor's saying, you got it all in one spot. So definitely give it a look, see if that's something you'd be interested in. And for a lot of you, I think it's going to be really helpful.
Right. And I mean, it's $50, but it's got the possibility here. Well, I just ask yourself the question, if I were able to get a job as a result of what I learned in this course, how much is that going to be worth to me? And if the answer is less than $50, then you've got a good job. So congratulations. And hey, if it's more than $50, you should surely have a good job too. But I'm going to guess that most of you, if you're watching this webinar right now, it's because that's what you're interested in doing. You're interested in making that leap from non-technical to technical, or maybe even technical and some other specialty to technical SQL database stuff. And there's not much that's more impressive than somebody who comes in and just bam, they know everything. Why? So you're like, well, I mean, geez, then what else do we need here? All right, so let us know if you have any other questions. Go ahead and post those there in the comments. Feel free to email us. You can email us at support@sqlprep.com, support@sqlprep.com, with any questions you have. We'll send out another email to you all about at 7 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, so about an hour before the cart closes for the special. Normally sell the course at 200. Right now it's at 50. So just as a little reminder. And yeah, that's about it. Also, feel free to message us if you have any other ideas for things that you want to see us present about in future webinars. This is something we're going to be rolling out here weekly moving forward. And so I want to make sure it's really worth your time. All right. So with that said, we'll go ahead and sign off for now. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
See ya.